The unraveling of the Forrester dynasty, a tragic accident, a calculated betrayal, and the lingering question of a mother's grief. In the hallowed, marble-floored halls of the Forrester dynasty, tragedy is a familiar, if unwelcome, guest. The family, a veritable institution in the high-stakes world of Los Angeles fashion, has weathered scandals, betrayals, and even presumed deaths. Yet, nothing could have prepared them for the catastrophic chain of events that has left their legacy in tatters and their lives irrevocably shattered. A desperate flight, a fiery car crash, and the heartbreaking loss of a child have plunged the family into a vortex of grief and recrimination. But as the initial shock subsides, a more sinister truth begins to claw its way to the surface. Was the devastating crash that claimed the lives of Luna Nozawa and her young son, Hayes, a simple, tragic accident born of panic? Or was it the culmination of a meticulously planned act of vengeance, a dark plot that has left everyone questioning who the true victims and villains are? At the center of this maelstrom are three figures: Steffy Forrester, a mother hollowed out by an unimaginable loss; Finn, a husband and father tormented by a guilt that threatens to consume him; and Ridge Forrester, the patriarch struggling to hold his fractured family together while grappling with the devastating consequences of secrets and lies. This is the story of how a single, fateful day unraveled a dynasty and set in motion a mystery that could destroy what little remains. A mother's desperate flight. The final, frantic hours of Luna Nozawa's life began not with a bang, but with a series of quiet, panicked decisions. For weeks, the intricate web of secrets surrounding the paternity of Hayes had been tightening, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia. Caught in the crossfire between Steffy's fierce maternal instincts and the complicated history of the Forrester family, Luna found herself increasingly isolated. Her affair with Finn, a moment of weakness born from loneliness and manipulation, had snowballed into a crisis that threatened to destroy multiple lives. The breaking point came swiftly and without warning. A heated confrontation at the Forrester mansion, fueled by accusations and the ever-present shadow of DNA tests, left Luna feeling trapped. Convinced that she was about to lose her son, she made a reckless, catastrophic choice. In a state of desperate panic, she fled with Hayes. The image captured by news helicopters would haunt the nation for weeks. Luna's car, speeding recklessly through the winding roads of Laurel Canyon, her eyes darting between the road ahead and the terrified young boy in the back seat. In his tiny hands, he clutched a stuffed animal, a gift from Steffy given just hours earlier, now a tragic symbol of a bond about to be violently severed. "We'll be okay, Hayes," she was said to have whispered, her voice trembling. But it was a lie, a desperate prayer against a fate that was already closing in. The police were in pursuit, their sirens a wailing harbinger of the tragedy to come. Near the treacherous cliffs that overlook the Pacific, the chase reached its horrifying conclusion. Whether it was a moment of distraction, a mechanical failure, or a final, desperate act, the vehicle lost its grip on the asphalt. It crossed over the guardrail and plunged into the abyss below. The wreckage, discovered hours later, told a brutal and straightforward story. On impact, both Luna and Hayes had perished. The news hit the Forrester estate not as information, but as a physical, soul-crushing blow. The anatomy of grief. For Steffy Forrester, the news of her son's death was a cataclysm that extinguished the very light of her world. Her initial reaction was a guttural scream that seemed to echo through the marble corridors of the mansion, a sound of pure, unadulterated agony. Her knees buckled, and it was only Ridge's steadying hand that kept her from collapsing entirely. But the Steffy who had stood strong against business rivals, family betrayals, and even a near-fatal shooting was gone. In her place was a hollow shell, a mother staring into a future devoid of meaning. In the weeks that followed, the Forrester mansion, once a symbol of glamour and success, became a mausoleum of grief. Steffy became a ghost in her own home, a fragile and fierce specter of her former self. She refused to eat. She barely slept. She spent countless hours in Hayes' silent bedroom, clinging to his blanket, inhaling what remained of his scent and watching old videos of him laughing, running through the house, and calling her mommy. The pain was a physical entity, a constant, suffocating weight. Finn, meanwhile, was drowning in his own tsunami of guilt. He was a doctor, a man trained to save lives, yet he had been powerless to save his own son. He retreated into his work, taking every emergency shift at the hospital, performing surgery after surgery in a desperate attempt to outrun the demons of his own making. The affair with Luna, the secrets, the betrayal, he saw them as the direct cause of the tragedy. He had failed to protect his family, and the weight of that failure was a crushing burden. He couldn't bring himself to return to the house he had shared with Steffy and Hayes, the place that was now a graveyard of happy memories. Instead, he took refuge in a cheap, anonymous motel near the hospital, the sterile environment a reflection of his own hollowed-out soul. He, too, was haunted by visions, the twisted wreckage, the tiny toy bear, and the image of Luna's lifeless hand reaching back from the driver's seat, as if in a final, futile attempt to protect her son. The rest of the family was caught in the emotional crossfire. Ridge, his face a mask of cold fury, saw Finn's actions as the ultimate betrayal, a moral failing that had cost him his grandson. Taylor and Brooke, longtime rivals now united in a shared, heartbreaking grief, attempted to mediate, but their words were insufficient against the tide of sorrow and anger. Hope, who had once been close to losing her own daughter, Beth, understood Steffy's pain on a level no one else could. She became a silent, steadfast presence, offering a shoulder to cry on when words failed. Even RJ, often on the periphery of the family's dramas, was profoundly affected. He channeled his grief into his music, writing a poignant, haunting song titled The Last Drive, which would later become an anthem for the family's loss. A new mystery unfurls. As the initial shock began to recede, a lingering, unsettling question started to take root in Steffy's mind. Was it really just a tragic accident? The official report cited Luna's panic and reckless driving, but for Steffy, something felt wrong. The narrative was too simple, too clean. Haunted by this doubt, she began to investigate, poring over police reports and news footage, searching for an inconsistency, a crack in the official story. Her suspicions were validated when an anonymous envelope arrived at her doorstep. Inside was a corrupted dashcam video, the footage glitchy and incomplete, but revealing enough to plant a seed of terrifying doubt. The video showed portions of the police chase, but key moments were inexplicably missing. This was no accident. This was a deliberate omission. Seeing his daughter spiraling, consumed by a new kind of torment, Ridge took action. He hired a private investigator, a discreet professional tasked with uncovering the truth about Luna's final hours. The investigation quickly unearthed more troubling inconsistencies. Surveillance footage from key areas along Luna's route was either missing or had been mysteriously erased. The mystery deepened, casting a new, sinister shadow over the family's grief. Was Luna truly attempting to evade justice, or was she running from something, or someone else? Was another person to blame for the chaos that led to the crash? The focus of the investigation and of the family's suspicions began to shift. The once clear lines of blame became blurred, and the Forrester family found themselves on the precipice of another, perhaps even more devastating, revelation. A legacy of scars. In the wake of the tragedy, the Forrester family and those in their orbit have been forced to redefine their relationships and their futures. Steffy, though broken, has begun to channel her grief into purpose. She established a foundation in Hayes' name, dedicated to mental health and child safety, a testament to her enduring love for her son. The launch of the Hayes Forever children's clothing line, a project initiated by Thomas, became not a celebration of fashion, but a solemn, intimate tribute. Each piece in the collection, rendered in delicate creams and soft blues, featured an embroidered symbol, a small heart with the letter H. The pain of loss, however, remains a constant, palpable presence. At a private beach memorial held a year after the crash, the family gathered at the cliff's edge. A bronze sculpture of a child holding an angel, gazing out over the water, was unveiled. The inscription at its base read, "Hayes Forrester, loved beyond words." It was a moment of shared sorrow, a rare instance of unity in a family so often defined by its divisions. But even in their shared grief, the fractures remain. The questions surrounding Luna's death linger, a poison seeping into the family's already fragile foundation. Was she a desperate mother who made a fatal mistake, or a pawn in a much larger, more sinister game? And what of Finn? Can he ever forgive himself for the role he played, or will the guilt of his past actions forever haunt him? The story of the Forresters has always been one of high drama, of love, loss, and betrayal played out on a grand stage. But this latest tragedy has struck a deeper, more resonant chord. It has stripped away the glamour and exposed the raw, vulnerable heart of a family at war with itself. The road to healing will be long and arduous, and the truth, when it finally emerges, may be more shattering than the loss itself. For the Forresters, the only certainty is that they will never be the same. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button for more updated news.